The Adams 4 1/3 octave marimba is one of the best value marimbas on the market right now, and in this video I'll be giving you my full review as well as a proper sound test. All that coming up. Hello and welcome everybody to my YouTube channel. My name is Zachary Savinsky, and today, as I mentioned 10 seconds ago, we will be taking a look at the Adams 4 1/3 octave marimba with Padouk bars. For starters, if you're not familiar with the Adams brand, they are a company based out of the Netherlands that doesn't just make percussion instruments, but they make brass instruments as well. But who cares about those? Y'all are here for the marimba. Included in your purchase of the marimba is, of course, the marimba itself, but you'll also get a nice cover for it as well as a pair of mallets. Bonus! Except you're paying for it. As mentioned earlier, this marimba is a part of Adams Concert Series, which is one of their most affordable lines, and is in many ways the sister series to the Adams Soloist series. With the Soloist series being Adams' cheapest line of marimbas other than their tabletop keyboards, which I don't really count as true marimbas anyways. But the only difference I've found so far between the Concert and the Soloist series so far, aside from the price, because the Soloist series is considerably cheaper, is the width of the bars, with the Concert series marimba featuring graduated bars. And what that means is that the bars at the end of the marimba get wider instead of staying mostly the same size as the upper octaves. So that way you don't have to hit a low A that's as skinny as the high notes. Makes a huge difference. Graduated bars are also the type of bars that you'll find on most, if not all, professional models. This would allow for a smooth transition going back and forth between this model and other marimbas you might have at school. That way, you don't have to worry about adjusting the way you play because many of the intervals are smaller on a non-graduated board. So with all that being said, yes, the Solo series is cheaper, but ultimately I needed the graduated bars because that's what I'd be utilizing most at school. But you might be different, it's just something I needed to consider. Moving on to the price, the Concert Series Marimba comes in at a cost of $2,919.95 if you order from Steve Weiss. And as I've mentioned before, this is the model with Padouk bars, which is still a natural wood material, but is drastically cheaper than Rosewood. Padouk also has a shorter resonance, and that's why Rosewood is still my preferred choice, but this marimba still produces a great sound, and you'll hear that later in the sound test, so make sure you stick around for that. And in case you're curious, there are models of this marimba that come with rosewood or synthetic bars, but those will cost you more money, with the synthetic version coming in at $4,119.95 and the rosewood version coming in at $6,729.95. But I didn't really consider either of these options, considering I'm a broke college student. But also because if you're going to dish out that type of money for a rosewood instrument, I would just keep on saving for the 5-octave version. Personal opinion though. And with the other option, synthetic bars, I just don't like the sound it produces indoors, because it just rings for so long. To me, they just make sense when you're using them in a front ensemble context, either in marching band, drum corps, or WDI. Moving on to the frame, this marimba is equipped with Adams' standard Voyager Frame system. And I must say, this is one of my favorite frames on the market right now. I'd also say it's probably the second best one I've seen, second only to the ones that are on Marimba 1's keyboards. Now, I'm not going to go through the step-by-step process of setting it up, because frankly that would be quite boring to watch. But if you need any help, I know Steve Weiss has some great videos detailing everything you need to know. Overall though, the setup was fairly simple and straightforward. It only took about a half hour, I'd probably say, and no extra tools were needed or anything. Although it can get kind of complicated with all the knobs and stuff that you have to turn, so just make sure that you're looking at the instructions closely and you won't miss anything. And voila, the end result is a very sturdy and well-made marimba frame. Even though I'm still not entirely sure what it's even made of. It looks like plastic coated metal or like metal coated plastic. I'm not entirely sure. If you know though, put it down in the comments. I'm genuinely curious because I have no idea. Now to talk about the wheels. And my issue here isn't necessarily with the size of the wheels because I think they're an appropriate size wheel, but it's with the brakes. It's kind of hard to push down on the brake, especially when you don't have shoes on, which is me most of the time when I'm playing. It's not a huge issue or anything, and it's certainly not a deal breaker, because I hope the wheels would not be the deal breaker on a marimba. But it's just something to think about, especially if you're going to be using this in a school context, but you also have shoes on when you're using that in school, so that'll be a lot easier. Next, we have the crank system, and for this system, there's only a couple steps needed. All you have to do is to turn the knob and then either crank it up or down to your respective height. And then of course, you repeat those two steps for the other end of the marimba. I definitely am a fan of this system as opposed to other ones where you just loosen the knob and then have to raise the side manually and not actually use a crank. Because having the crank system in a number system instead of a dash system helps out a lot to make sure you know exactly where the marimba is sitting. Also, on the note of adjusting the height, I thought it'd be important to share that at its lowest possible height, the marimba measures out to be 34 inches from the ground to the top of the frame and around 44 inches at its tallest height. All right, I think we covered most everything about the marimba now, so let's move on to the sound test. And for this first part of the sound test, I'll actually be using the mallets that came with the instrument, which are the Adams MB1s. Now for this portion of the sound test, I'll be rolling some simple chord progressions, and the mallets I'll be using are a full set of mediums from the Artifact Voxcalis series. Alright, now for this last portion of the sound test, I'll be playing some basic marimba literature just so we can get an idea for how the marimba sounds in context. What did you think of the sound test? Do you think the Padouk bars sound good or not at all? Let me know down in the comments. Overall, I think this marimba has a lot of benefits if you're a student just learning how to play or a college student who needs a practice/at-home instrument. And I think the Padouk bars sound really good for being Padouk. They have a nice warm sound and also have a pretty decent resonance. They're of course not the same as Rosewood, but I think it's a pretty good second option. So, would I recommend this instrument? Absolutely. Especially if you're not willing or able to dole out a ton of money for a higher end instrument, I think this marimba will still be of great value and quality for you. So there you have it. my review of the Adams 4 1/3 Octave Concert Series Marimba with Padouk bars. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and got something out of this review. And hey, if you want to see more content like this, make sure you subscribe and hit that like button. It really helps me out. But until then, thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you in the next video.